The planet of Elendra glimmered in the vastness of space, its twin suns casting golden light across the crystalline towers of the royal city. The princess of Elendra, a figure of grace and authority, had grown accustomed to the presence of alien attendants and warriors. Her world was one of disciplined ritual, advanced technology, and complex politics. Nothing in her upbringing had prepared her for the extraordinary events that were about to unfold. A violent storm had ripped through the outskirts of Elendra, tearing apart the dense, floating forests that clung to the jagged cliffs beyond the city. The royal convoy, tasked with surveying the damage, had been caught in the tempest. Among them was the princess herself, riding in a reinforced hover chariot alongside her guards. A sudden landslide of crystalline rock forced the convoy to halt. Panic rippled through the ranks as pieces of debris fell from the cliffs above. Despite their advanced shields, the guards could not prevent the chariot from toppling over the edge, sending the princess hurtling down a steep ravine. When she awoke, the world around her was silent, except for the distant roar of waterfalls. She found herself trapped beneath twisted metal, her elegant attire torn and scratched. Fear gripped her heart, not of the fall, but of the thought that no one might find her in time. Her communication device had been destroyed in the crash, leaving her alone in the wilderness of Elendra's floating forests. The princess, who had always relied on protocol and the unyielding strength of her warriors, felt a rare and terrifying vulnerability. Minutes, or perhaps hours, passed. She struggled to free herself, but the wreckage was heavy and unyielding. Her strength was waning. Then, faintly at first, she heard a voice sound foreign to her world, crude and unpolished, yet filled with determination. She turned her head to see a figure moving through the drifting mist, carrying tools that looked far simpler than the advanced technology of her people. The figure approached with careful steps, his human eyes locked on her. The princess's first instinct was disbelief. Humans were not commonly known beyond frontier colonies, and contact with them was rare and often fraught with prejudice. Elendrans often spoke of humans as unpredictable and fragile. Yet here one stood, ready to assist her without hesitation. With a strength born of desperation, the human lifted the twisted metal and carefully helped the princess to her feet. She felt the solidity of his hands, the unrefined but steady grip, and realized that his presence was saving her. Her first words were a mixture of shock and curiosity. You are human," she said, voice trembling but resolute. "Why are you here?" The human shrugged, smiling faintly beneath a streak of dirt and sweat. "I was nearby. I saw you fall. Figured I'd help." It was simplicity itself, yet it struck her profoundly. The princess had been trained to see the galaxy in hierarchies of strength and technology. Here was a human, frail by her standards, yet performing a feat of courage and skill that her own elite warriors might have failed to accomplish. Her shock was deeper than she expected. As the human guided her through the dense forest, she observed him with a mixture of fascination and careful scrutiny. His movements were measured and practical. He scanned the surroundings constantly, avoiding dangers she had scarcely noticed. When they encountered a fallen tree that blocked the path, he did not pause to curse or wait for tools. He lifted it with sheer determination and motioned for her to pass. The princess realized she had underestimated humans entirely. While her people relied on superior strength, speed, and technology, this human demonstrated something else: adaptability, perseverance, and ingenuity. Even when a treacherous ravine appeared, he did not hesitate to fashion a makeshift bridge using fallen branches and vines, testing each step before allowing her to cross. Throughout their journey, the princess asked him questions, partly to understand him and partly to make sense of her own growing admiration. She learned that he came from a distant human colony on a mining planet, where survival demanded constant creativity and courage. He spoke of hardships with calm acceptance, of dangers faced daily without complaint. In his stories, she sensed an undercurrent of strength forged not in laboratories or royal academies, but in the raw trials of life itself. As the sun dipped below Elindra's horizon, casting the forests in hues of violet and amber, the princess and the human found a safe clearing to rest. She noticed his hands calloused, scarred, yet steady, and the ease with which he built a small fire. She marveled at his simplicity and resourcefulness, qualities her society often overlooked in its pursuit of perfection. "Your world. It is unlike anything I imagined," she said quietly, watching the flames dance. "I assume humans were fragile. Yet you have saved me." The human shrugged again, brushing ash from his hands. "I guess we surprise people sometimes." Her heart swelled with a mixture of relief and awe. The shock she had felt upon discovering his species slowly transformed into admiration. Then something more subtle, a sense of trust she had rarely extended to anyone. The night passed uneventfully, save for the gentle rustle of the alien foliage and the distant sound of predators. At dawn, the princess and the human resumed their trek toward the city, encountering remnants of the storm's destruction at every turn. Each challenge, blocked paths, deep chasms, unstable terrain, was met with ingenuity and persistence. The human never hesitated, never faltered. When they finally reached the outskirts of the royal city, the princess could see the walls and towers, their polished surfaces gleaming in the early light. She felt a rush of relief, knowing she would soon be among her people again. Yet her mind lingered on the human at her side, the one who had brought her to safety. "Tell me your name," she said, turning toward him as they approached the gates. He smiled modestly. "Call me Kale." Kale, a simple name, unremarkable compared to the titles of Elindra's nobility. Yet to the princess it was now etched into her memory, inseparable from courage, loyalty, and unexpected heroism. The city guards were stunned when they saw the princess accompanied by a human. They moved forward, weapons drawn, but she raised a hand. "He saved my life," she declared firmly. "He is no threat." The gates opened, and word of the princess's survival spread quickly. Court members and advisors gathered to witness the scene, eyes wide with curiosity and disbelief. A human, unarmored and untrained in the ways of Elindra's elite, had rescued the royal heir. The political implications were immense, yet the princess spoke with authority that left no room for doubt. "He acted without hesitation when my safety was at stake," she explained. "His actions are beyond measure. Today, a human has proven a value that no Elindran can match." Whispers rippled through the crowd. Many questioned how she could trust one so foreign, so seemingly fragile. Yet their murmurs were muted by the princess's composed demeanor and the undeniable truth of Kale's deeds. Over the following days, the princess insisted on meeting Kale regularly, learning more about his world, his people, and the qualities that had allowed him to survive in environments her society might never endure. Her fascination grew, not merely from curiosity, but from a deeper appreciation of the resilience and ingenuity inherent in humans. She began to see them not as primitive beings, but as exemplars of survival, courage, and adaptability, the very traits her people often overlooked. The court, initially skeptical, began to recognize the value of this perspective. Advisors who had dismissed humans as unpredictable and weak were compelled to reconsider their assumptions. The princess's respect for Kale became a catalyst for broader reflection within Elindra, prompting discussions about alliances, mutual aid, and the potential of cooperation with species previously dismissed. Kale, meanwhile, adapted to the alien city with quiet determination. He did not seek recognition or reward. His focus remained on understanding the world around him and assisting the princess where needed. His presence challenged Elindrans to rethink their rigid hierarchies, showing them that strength was not solely a matter of advanced technology or noble lineage. It could also reside in courage, resourcefulness, and the willingness to act when others hesitated. Weeks later, the princess escorted Kale to the highest balcony of the royal tower. From there, they could see the expanse of Elendra, the floating forests, and the shattered lands slowly being restored by engineers and workers. "You have changed the way I see my world," she said softly, "and perhaps the way my people will see others." Kale simply smiled, his human modesty shining through. "I only did what anyone would do," he replied. Yet she knew the truth. Few could have acted as he had. Few would have faced the storm and risked everything for someone so different. In that moment, the princess realized that humanity, though small and fragile in appearance, possessed a strength that could shift the balance of worlds. In the months that followed, Kale remained by her side, not as a servant or a bodyguard, but as an equal, a companion who bridged the gap between species. The princess, once bound by tradition and expectation, found herself learning from him at every turn. She learned the value of courage under pressure, of ingenuity in adversity, and of the quiet, steadfast strength that humans carried within them. The court gradually accepted his presence, recognizing the undeniable truth. Elendra had been saved not by its advanced shields or elite warriors, but by a human. A being once thought fragile had demonstrated coup.